has been riding on an anti-India rhetoric. So much so that he won the election on the India out stance. But now, as his country owes $400 million to India, Mohamed Muizzu is now suddenly striking a seemingly reconciliatory tone with India. Calling India Maldives' closest ally, Muizzu has urged New Delhi to provide debt relief to his country. Ever since he took oath as the president in November last year, the pro-China Maldivian leader Muizzu has pursued a hardline stand towards India. Within hours, he had demanded that Indian military personnel operating 3 aviation platforms be repatriated by the 10th of May this year. The question is, should India be the bigger person here and give debt relief, or pay Maldives back in the same coin? Joining me on the broadcast this evening, Mr. Dnyaneshwar Mulay is a former High Commissioner of India to the Maldives. Mr. Mulay, thank you very much for joining us on Mirror Now. First things first, here's a man, the president of Maldives, who has won the election on an anti-India rhetoric. Hours after he was inaugurated as the president, he asked Indian military personnel to leave. He's also cancelled the hydrography agreement with India, citing the fact that the Indian Ocean region doesn't belong to any particular country. And of course, his pro-China stand is very well known. But how do you now see his seemingly reconciliatory tone? Is it reconciliatory at all? Or is it just, because Maldives needs that debt relief from India, we see this kind of a tone coming up from the Maldivian president?
Well, to me, this seems just a beginning. I had said a few months back that when a new leader, assumes power, he takes some time to understand the ground realities. The depth and the spread of India-Maldives relations is such that for any leader to discount it, irrespective of what are the domestic compulsion, could be foolhardy, to say the least. So while it's a sovereign country, it needs to know that there's a lot that has gone into building this relationship over a period of last 50 years or so. And whether it is tourism, whether it is their banking, whether it is finance, the social infrastructure, economic infrastructure, India has played, I would say, a pioneering role in Maldives. But sometimes, new leaders, when they come, particularly on a particular mandate, they have to make certain noises. And I think he has made those noises. Seems to me right now, one needs more time. I had said that we require about 6 months to really understand how this government will go. So there are still a few months left. But if what he has said reportedly, if that is correct, I would say that slowly he is, realizing the realities of our relationship and where India stands. Now, in terms of what India will do, I'm not really the person to comment, but I do feel that by and large, I have seen that India has been extremely generous and liberal while, dealing with its neighbors. Sometimes there is a acknowledgement, but often it is not. And it's not sometimes convenient for smaller countries to acknowledge openly also, which is understood by India, India being a large country.
Master Mulay, it's interesting that you say that he used the anti-India stance as a pole plank to come to power, and probably now he's realizing all of this. The fact of the matter is that India has been assisting Maldives for a very long time, for decades now. Humanitarian aid, financial aid, all of that has been provided by India. Wasn't this realized earlier? Suddenly, when you need that debt relief, you suddenly realize that, India has been such a great help to all of us, in the last few decades.
Yeah, you are right. But I am not privy to the undercurrents that might have gone in Maldives during the election time. What help China has rendered, what promises have been made to China. These are things that are not really openly, to be found. So that being the case, and there was an earlier attempt in 2013 also, when the election came closer, such rhetoric turns into a kind of a bit of a violent demonstration. And sometimes people are swayed by it. And even though Mr. Muizzu has been the president, and earlier he's been in politics for more than a decade, it is not necessary that he was privy to all the details of the relationship. But I still wish to say that we need to wait more to see how the presidency is going to move. Whether it is a one-time kind of a realization, or there is a deeper understanding that, well, today he has called the closest relationship. Well, is he going to return to the phrase that India first, which was used by his predecessor? Now, without going into these terminologies, what is important is being friends. We must have cordial relationship, and he needs to realize that India has been a big supporter of Maldives, and that too, not only in peace times,
Yes.
but also in crisis. Whether it is a water crisis, whether it is a crisis of 1988 when former President Gayoom was under attack and he was actually dethroned. His power was restored, and it was ensured that those mercenaries were captured, and subsequently they were punished. So it's not a superficial relationship between our two countries. And earlier, President Muizzu realizes it's better for himself as well as Maldives. This has been my position throughout during the last few months.
Ambassador Mulay, also let me then ask you, India certainly doesn't indulge in sinister plots like that of debt diplomacy, something that China has been indulging in. Debt trap, debt diplomacy that has been happening from its side. Do you also think this moment could be, India's opportunity to show that we are not China, that, we can be the bigger person here and provide that debt relief?
I think Muizzu knows that India is not China. India doesn't bully any country the way China does. India doesn't twist its arms.
We've been asked to not be bullies by President Muizzu in the past.
Pardon? I didn't get that. Sorry.
I said, Ambassador Mulay, that President Muizzu himself, am I audible now, Ambassador Mulay?
Yes, I can hear you.
I was saying that earlier in the day, President Muizzu has called India a bully and asked India to not, quote unquote, bully the Maldives. So I don't know if he still knows the difference between how India has been aiding Maldives and his pro-China stance.
I think he was still, what should I say, the hangover of having the sudden, presidency in his hands. It was Mr. Yamin who was supposed to be in his place. But since Yamin had some legal issues, Muizzu has been made the candidate. So maybe he didn't realize, and the hangover was still there. Now, as he knows, it's a 4 billion economy, and more than 1 billion is the debt that the country has to, serve. It's not very easy. The other thing is, this is what the debt of the country. There are debts of public sector undertakings, which is in addition to this. So that being the case, I'm sure Mr. Muizzu will have more and more a better realization in the coming weeks and months about how the relationship has been built with a lot of efforts in the last 4 or 5 decades. And it cannot be really just wished away just because he wants to do this way or that way, either at his own will or because somebody is prompting him to do so.
Okay, then my last question to you, Ambassador Mulay, help us understand how such issues between two countries are resolved diplomatically. Now that he's said that we hope India gives us debt relief, how does this move forward diplomatically now, considering also the fact that the ties have been strained in the past few months?
Well, there is a mechanism between RBI and the Central Bank of Maldives. There are regular interactions. This is not something that is visible in public domain. We have, there are two kinds of assistance that India gives. In fact, three kinds, I would say. One is a technical aid, which we give for maybe training programs or pilot projects. These are most grants, or they are brought under existing schemes of Government of India. The other is grants, outright grants we give. Well, they say, okay, we want some grant for a purpose of environmental projects. You just give it. Grants are also used for India-sponsored projects in that country. These grants are not, refundable in the sense of they don't fall part of the debt. And then the third is very, very highly concessional loans, which is credit basically. These credit lines are used again for bigger projects. They could be bridges, they could be building facilities like government offices, hospitals, maybe schools, colleges, that kind of a thing, or even parliament buildings. So, for example, the largest hospital in Maldives has been built by India, the Indira Gandhi, medical hospital. So, like that, there are a number of. There's a tourism institute, tourism and catering institute, built by India again. So, large number of such projects are already there, and this is a regular process. And SBI, which might be the lead bank there, which is handling these projects, or RBI directly conducts these discussions. It is generally not in the public domain, but proper accounting is kept of all the credit lines by the prevailing systems. So discussions will take place, and this
which way India goes,
Ambassador.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So let's see how this moves forward and what India does. Ambassador Mulay, thank you very much for joining us on the broadcast and helping us understand this whole situation between India and the Maldives. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much. Thanks.